All right, welcome back. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest update for Automobilista 2, which is version 1.5.5.0, which includes the Le Mans and Endurance Pack Part 1. They just got this out at the end of the year, and super excited to see kind of just the progress this game has made over 2023. And I was also super excited for this update, in particular for the Gen 2 GT3 cars. So at this point, the update's been out for a couple days, and you could probably find reviews of the update around the internet, and that give you an overview and probably dive deeper into the LMDH cars and some of the other things. But for me, I don't drive much of the hybrid or downforce cars in any sim racing. I tend to use GT3s and GT4s most. And when I started actually playing around with the update, I'll be honest, I grabbed the McLaren and I didn't see much of a difference. I was like, it's nice, great update. Cars are still fun, but I couldn't tell much between the McLarens. Then I grabbed the Porsche, the new 992 versus the 911, and I did see a bit of a difference there. And so what we're going to do in this video is kind of do a deeper dive into just one little piece of the update, which is the changes in the Porsche GT3 car from Gen 1 to Gen 2, going from the 911 GT3 to the 992, and just really dig into some of the differences more and how it drives differently, etc. So with that, let's jump right in and take a look at the spec differences between the two cars. All right, so here we have the specs for the two pulled up side by side. On the left, we have the new 992 GT3R, which came out with the update. On the right is the original 911. So just kind of running through the specs, you can see obviously the engine's a little different with the displacement on the new one being 4.19 liters versus a 4-liter engine on the old one, generating 544 horsepower versus 530. And then torque is up a little bit to 374 versus 367. And interestingly enough, the weight is up to 3,064 pounds versus 2,927. Now, when I first drove this, I hadn't looked at any of these specs. I just took it out and gave it a run. And the one thing I wondered right away, which you can see here on the specs, is the weight distribution actually felt different. And you can see the new 992 has a bit more weight on the front at 43.8% versus 42.2%. And in my view, I don't think I'm particularly adept at sensing differences in sim racing, but you could feel the difference in the car. It definitely feels like it has a heavier front. It feels more balanced overall, and I would say the back end isn't coming out nearly as much. But hey, in both of these cars, I think the back end and having the weight back there just makes a phenomenal driving machine. So those are the main differences between the cars. Now for some quick driving impressions. And again, what I did is I took each car, I put 15 liters of fuel in it. I used Jerez as a test circuit, same weather conditions, everything else, and just went out to see if I could feel the difference between the car. And as I just said, I could feel the weight difference between them. I like how the newer, the 992 drives more, just generally feels balanced. The other thing is I felt like I wondered if the gearing was different, because you could definitely see like shift points changed, and it always felt like with the 992 I was in one gear higher. And indeed, when you kind of pull up the advanced setup, which I'll put up here on the screen, you can see like the gearing is different between the cars, and I'm guessing those gearing setups have to do with the differences in the engine, the torque, etc. Now, I didn't go play with the setups at all and try to kind of make them match or feel the same way. I just took them out of the box, and those are my initial impressions. Other than that, I would say I still think they drive really well. I personally enjoy kind of the feeling of the Porsche, the way it kind of comes out of a corner and you can just really put the power down is simply amazing. Like you don't kick the back end out much at all, like with all that weight hanging off the back end of the thing. In my view, it is just a pure joy to drive. And even under braking, You do have to brake pretty straight in these, but it just feels great. And the other nice thing is in high-speed corners, you can kind of really play with it and use the throttle to kind of steer the car more through the corners. Like if you kind of miscalculated your entry and you want to bring the front end around a little bit, you can do that with the throttle really well. And again, I think some of this is personal preference and just what you get used to driving. But when I go back and I drive the McLaren, I find that I would say more difficult to drive because I'm always kicking the rear end out on that thing. And just for fun, I went and grabbed a front engine car with the BMW. And I found that to be absolutely atrocious to drive. Back end felt super light, understeering all over. But of course, like that's the nature of the car. And, I think given enough time in any of them, you'll adapt to it and it'll be fine. But I just happen to be biased towards these types of cars right now. So that's my personal view. So, all that said, they do drive very similarly. It's a really nice update. I enjoy it. The 992 is a much nicer car, but I would say it's a small incremental change in terms of what you feel in the game. And the 992 didn't seem any faster to me. I was like, yep, it feels different. The kind of weight balance feels different, but it didn't feel much quicker. So what I decided to do was put it to the test with a couple hot laps around Jerez to see how I could do. And so the answer to that was, well, the 992 was definitely quicker, as you'll see coming up. Now, I tried the same test in the McLaren and they were about the same, but admittedly, I probably need to spend some more time with it. And it was like driver's fault, not the car's fault. But what I'm going to do here in a second is I have my two best laps of the cars. I'm going to put them up side by side so you can watch. And you'll see the 992 definitely came out ahead, like nicely so. And the other thing I did is, so you could hear the sound difference between them. By the way, yep, there is a sound difference between the two cars. And so as you'll see in my laps, I'll switch the sound so you can hear the sound improvements with the 992. And you can kind of see the difference in the laps. And I think what we'll do is I'll leave it there. I mean, quick video. Again, nice update with the 992. Really like the car. Feels great. By the way, it looks fantastic, as you've probably seen with some of the footage in this video. And what I'll do is I'll leave the side-by-side laps here at the end with the sound differences. And if you like this, let me know, and I'm happy to do a deeper dive on any of the other, GT3 cars in the update. If you want to see something funny, I could even do one of the front engine cars where I would be terrible at driving it. And if we want to see something even funnier, I'll go play with the LMDH cars, which I can't drive at all. But anyway, here are those side-by-side laps, and enjoy.